You want to play that game? You're not part of the people? Fine. We're celebrating because God took us out. But if you had been there, you wouldn't come out. Pretty vicious answer. You know that there are four sons. These four sons ask questions about the story of Passover. And God commanded us at Mount Sinai that when your child asks, what is all this about? You should tell them the entire story of the Exodus. So, one of the 613 commandments that we have is the commandment to tell your children the story of the Exodus on Passover when they ask you. Sometimes children don't ask. So we do things at the Seder to get their curiosity so that they do ask, and then we can tell them the whole story. It's like, oh, now that you're asking, here's the whole story. One of the four sons, which we'll talk about a little later more, one of the four sons is the wicked son. What makes him the wicked son? He asks a wicked question, a cynical question. He says, what is all this effort? What is all this work that your God demands of you? What's wicked about that is that he disassociates himself. He says, your God commands you, as if this is not his command, not his God, not his mitzvah, as if he is not part of the people, not a member of the tribe. That's wicked. What are we supposed to tell him? Well, you ask that kind of a question, you get that kind of an answer. The answer is, it's because God took us out of Egypt, meaning, had you been there, he wouldn't have taken you out. Pretty vicious answer. You want to play that game? You're not part of the people? Fine. We're celebrating because God took us out. But if you had been there, you wouldn't come out. The exact wording is third person. What do we say to that son? We say, had he been there, he would not have come out. That's just a little lesson in how you're supposed to treat your children. Don't say you would not come out. We make it sound like it's a third party. He would not have come out. But we'll talk about that more on Thursday. All right, so here's the question. Yeah, it's cute. He asked a cynical question. We give him a cynical answer. Is that what it's all about? This is how you tell your cynical child about the Exodus? This is your mitzvah? To be cynical in return? What kind of mitzvah is that? Before I continue with my monologue, where I do all the talking, I want to invite you to a VIP session, a Zoom session, in which we get together to actually have a conversation and discuss all things Jewish, all things holy, all things healthy. So click on the link below and join us where we can have a two-way conversation. We have a beautiful insight here. We're saying to a child, let's say in the 21st century, who says, I don't feel Jewish. I'm not included in this. I never agreed to any of this. I'm not religious. It's your religion. So I'm asking you, what is this to you? To me, it means nothing. How are we supposed to respond? We're supposed to say, God took us out of Egypt. Had you been there, or had he been there, he would not have been taken out of Egypt. And what is the message? The message is, had you been there, he wouldn't take you out of Egypt. But today, if he takes us out of this exile, of course, he would take you out too. Something changed. See, the difference is the Jews, when they were in Egypt, had not received the Torah. There hadn't been the Ten Commandments. We hadn't been at Mount Sinai. And so our bond with God had not really taken hold. We were the children of Israel, meaning the descendants of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. We were a family. In Egypt, we became a big family, but we were rudderless. We didn't have the guide or the intimacy with God that the Torah gave us. So, had he been there without a Torah, he would not have come out. But today, since we now have the Torah, then even a cynical child who doesn't feel Jewish at all is as Jewish as Moses. And yes, he would come out. And yes, God would take him out because our bond with God today is much stronger than it was then. Then, if you didn't believe, then you were not participating. Today, it doesn't matter whether you believe. You are the people, the chosen people. You are the people of the covenant. You're the people of the book. The Torah is your Torah. And if you fail to keep it, it does not break the bond because God still wants you to keep it. Isn't that an amazing thing? What makes a Jew Jewish? Not what the Jew does. What makes the Jew Jewish is what God does. If God says, I need you to be Jewish, you're, you're pretty Jewish, even if you say no. Basically, even the most rebellious child, even the most cynical child, once God chooses you, you can't drop out. You can't disappear. You can be the smart son, you can be the wicked son, you can be the simple son, but you can't stop being a son. You can rebel against your parents, but you can't divorce your parents. You can be the black sheep in the family, but you're in the family. And therefore, your questions must be answered because you're significant and important, even if you don't think so. So, how did this begin? God chose us. God came to take us out of Egypt. Well, that is never going to change. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.